The main character, Rio, wakes up in the basement trying to remember who he is. His memories fluctuate between realities, but the boys walk in thinking he's already dead. Rio is kicked out saying he smells bad. There is a commotion in his head. He remembers that he crashed on the bus, but he himself does not understand what a bus is. But the boy trusts more memories where his mother was brutally killed. Outside girls meet him on the street. It turned out they saw magical abilities in Rio. They gave him a bag with silver coins for showing them the way. Happy Rio goes to the house where he woke up. In the house, some robber killed all the guys living with him. As he is about to slaughter Rio, a magical power awakens in him with the help of which he did not receive a single blow from the robber. At the next reception, Rio accidentally kills an opponent. Of the living, only the kidnapped girl from the kingdom remain, and she asks to take her to her father. On the way, with a girl on his shoulder, the girls meet him and accuse him of kidnapping the king's daughter. Rio wakes up in the basement where he is tortured into confessing to the crime. He is beaten half to death until one of those girls comes and says that he actually saved that girl. He is healed with magic and prepared for a gratitude ceremony from the king. Rio is taken to the Royal Academy as he can neither read nor write. He is laughed at in class because of his background. After studying, he goes to the teacher for additional classes. The teacher notices Rio's ability to learn quickly, but he says it was his late mother who taught him. But in other thoughts, he thinks about what it was at his university. In sword training, he is tested by his teacher and highly praised for his fighting skills. Rio again sees memories from another life where he trains with a coach. In his head, he struggles between realities, seeing a girl that looks like one of his memories. Rio wins first place in the exams, but the others maliciously do not believe him. They became friends with the teacher. The coach chooses the best to recruit people for knighthood, and Rio is on the list. At the tournament, his opponent was the one who tortured him. Rio wins, remaining calm, unlike the opponent. There was a task for the class, a path along a dangerous route where they could show their skills. Rio was given the task of carrying all the things since his classmates did not trust him with anything else. As they were pinned down, Rio saved Flora from falling off a cliff, only to fall himself. He hears everyone discussing how to blame him. But Flora is not going to leave him. She is grateful for the salvation. While everyone is arguing, they are attacked by a monster that looks like a minotaur. No one can resist him, but Rio again saves Flora when the minotaur was already swinging at them. After killing the monster, Rio runs away. Since he escaped, the king reluctantly blames him for everything that happened on the way. Rio comes to say goodbye only to his teacher Celia, promising to send her letters on behalf of Haruto, because during this time they had become very close. Rio stopped in one city where rumors of his crimes had not yet reached. Here he tries many new things, for example, pasta. Here he takes supplies on his way. On the way, a girl pretending to be dead tries to kill him. She also owns magic and was counting on an easy victory, but Rio neutralizes her. He removed the collar of submission from her. Waking up, she reveals that she was sent to kill Rio. It was Stead, the one who accused Rio of the crimes. He feared the truth might come out. Rhea released her and offered to go together. She agreed. Stead mistreated his sister, fed her animal food. Rio shares his food and Latifah devours it greedily. In her dream, she says the word Tokyo. Rio realizes that she too has been reborn just like him. After all, she also looks like one girl from the bus. At night, they were attacked by semi-humans. But Rio is not going to attack. They believe that he kidnapped their relative. He woke up in chains, but Latifah was already hugging him in tears. All the girl beast people on their knees apologized to Rio. One elder, Ursula, said that tomorrow there would be an official apology from the village elders. 3 elders at the same table apologetically agreed that Latifah would stay here. But Rio is still here. The elders are very flattered by his courtesy. At one point, the spirit of the world tree appeared to Rio. She wants to look at the spirit that is inside him. She sees that in Rio there is a spirit of the second rank, and this is very honorable for the villagers, even godlike. Together with Rio and Latifah, 3 more girls from the settlement will live. This will help Latifah to become friends with relatives. A year later, Latifah and Rio were blessed by the spirit of the world tree. Rio thinks it's time to leave Latifah, but the elder thinks it's too early. Inviting her for a walk, he tells her about his intentions, but Latifah is offended and runs away. The sisters notice activity nearby. It turns out to be a man with a griffin who stole the egg of a wyvern, a dangerous monster. A pack of wyverns have already tracked them down and are on their way to retrieve the egg. The griffin man dies after eating a pill given to him by his commander. It turns out to be a man stalking Rio. The egg, falling into the forest, falls right under the feet of Latifah. The wyvern attacks the sisters, but Rio, with the help of magic, has already flown to her and carried her to a safe distance. He engages the wyvern and kills it with his bare hands. Latifah confesses to Rio that she used to live in Japan and was reborn into who she is now. Rio says the same. He left the village accepting the gifts of the elders. After 2 weeks, Rio finds a village where people are as dark-haired as he is. Here, he finds an elder who turns out to be his grandmother. They go to the grave of their parents. Other relatives, his cousin Ruri, who is a year older than him, still remains. Shin, Rio's age, invites him to hunt, thinking that he will kill him. Shin got into a fight with the son of an elder from a nearby village because he was staring at his sister. At night, this nearby robber attacked Rio's sister, but the amulet he gave to her sister alerted Rio to the danger. He almost killed him, but he was stopped. The neighbor's robbers were poisoned behind bars in a neighboring village. Here, Rio tries a new dish for himself, kamuden. Shin thanks Rio for saving his sister Seo. Walking around the city, Rio and Seo find a shop with royal jewelry. Rio buys her one piece of jewelry, which makes Seo very uncomfortable. On the way, they wanted to steal one girl right on the street. Rio saves her, but to avoid problems with the guards, they quickly leave. It turns out to be the daughter of the head of this village, Sadagoki. It was to him that Rio's grandmother handed over a letter stating that Rio was her grandson. Saga reveals that he was friends with Rio's parents and that his mother was of royal blood. He sends Rio to Queen Shizuko and King Homuro, who are his grandparents. Rio tells them his story. Rio's mother was killed by Master Lucius, a former friend of his late father. King Homuro wants to try and arrange a fight with Goki in preparation for a possible encounter with Lucius. Rio wins even when the opponent used magic. Ruri is told that Rio is actually her brother and he is from the royal family. Rio tells Seo that he will leave the village in the fall. She is very sad. Shin, learning about this, asks Rio on his knees to stay. At the Bali feast, Seo confesses his love for him. She practiced with a sword for 6 months in order to be in place with him, but Rio cannot answer her in kind. He says goodbye to his grandmother and Ruri and leaves for the dark time. At the exit of Seo's village, wishes him good luck. Rio returns to the village to Latifah, where he is very warmly welcomed. He asks to create a house for him, which can be transferred to the spatial storage. Rio wakes up with a naked girl, and everyone is horrified. The stranger introduced herself as the spirit with whom Rio has an agreement. It turns out that she knows everything about Rio and even calls him Haruto, as he was called in another life. She asks for a name. Rio calls her Isia. At the Council of the Elders, the spirit of Doria has again arrived, who saw a sleeping spirit in Rio. Rio confesses that he is wanted in the kingdom. Isia says that she owns all the spells, and they decide to test it in a duel. Their techniques were the same, so it was pointless to continue the fight. Haruto will now teach Isia spiritual knowledge. Rio realizes that he is addicted to training and forgets to spend time with Latifah. She comes to him in the bath to rub his back. They have a conversation with Rio about a past life, because it turns out that they traveled in the same bus every day and Latifah represented him as her older brother. Rio give gifts. They were an earring that changed hair color, a magic stone that gave him the ability to teleport to the village whenever he wanted, and a portable house that he requested. Already in the royal palace, he learns that his teacher Celia is marrying Charles, with whom Rio has always had a conflict. Asuga tries to find a teacher in the palace by turning into a spirit. Rio finds Celia in the room, ready to forget everything. She didn't want to create trouble for Rio and asked him to leave, but was very happy to meet him. Duke Charles had 7 more wives who already disliked Celia. Before the wedding, Princess Christina came to her. She apologized for taking away Celia's smile because she understood that her wedding was not desired by her. Celia barely smiles at the wedding ceremony. When she saw Rio, she cried because he was the only one she did not want to see here. Rio ran out onto the groom's road. He broke through the wall of guards, magicians, and the strongest soldiers. He hit Charles and pretended to take Celia hostage. He spoke telepathically with Celia to really understand what she wants. She decides not to get married. Rio carries Celia away, humiliating Charles. Master Lucius marvels at Rio's spiritual abilities. Rio informs Celia to Isia and hands her over. The squads chase after him and call for reinforcements. Alfred, the sword of the king, went into battle with Rio. A magical formula was applied to his broadsword. With a powerful blow, he demolishes half the street, but Rio hides in the alleys. He had already flown to Celia, and they began to make plans when suddenly pillars of different colors rushed from different directions.